Yeah, Adam,
Geez,
one
why,
thing.
why do you think they called bumpers scary?
I don't know.
Because they come at the beginning, at the end, like bumpers.
Alex, you're a marketing guy. Do you like that design behind Paul? Does that logo thing look pretty cool to you?
Hey, I forgot to hit the record button.
Yeah, that's really professional, isn't it?
Well, this is a professional podcast.
I met her in a parking lot and was handed 2 little Yorkies. And the only person I knew that knew Yorkies was Paul. So I called Paul and said, Paul.
Sweet Talk is a weekly 20-minute podcast brought to you by the Continuing Education and Workforce Training Division of Idaho State University's College of Technology. Find us on Apple Podcast, Spotify, and SoundCloud and subscribe today. Now it's time to get started with Sweet Talk.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Sweet Talk, Idaho State University's Continuing Education and Workforce Training's weekly podcast. Joining us today is Raylan Price, the Interim Director for Continuing Education, as well as our returning guest, Wendi Ames with United Way. And as the season of giving starts approaching, we'd really love to have some of these nonprofits on. United Way has a campaign coming up, so we'd really like to talk about that today. Wendi, could you take a moment to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do at the United Way?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me back. I'm really excited when I got your email just to talk about campaign again, because really it is an annual thing. And the campaign has been happening in our community since like 1956 or something. And so I'm just super proud to be part of this legacy and this community. So my name is Wendi Ames. I was born and raised here in Pocatello, Idaho, and graduated from Pocatello High School and went to ISU. And I'm really excited to have grown my career into my actual title, which is the Director of Donor and Community Engagement here at United Way. I started off with a title as Resource Development Manager, but no one wants to go to lunch with a Resource Development Manager. So we quickly changed that. So really what my goal is to help our community members learn really what the purpose of United Ways are in our community, how local United Way is, and really how easy it is to be part of the journeys of working families just trying to make ends meet and build financial stability right here in our 7-county region.
So maybe just take a moment and just tell us what the United Way is and what its purpose is and what it does do for the people in southeastern Idaho.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for asking, Raylan. So United Way, you've probably seen, it's a big brand. It's a worldwide brand, and people have heard of United Way. And even when I started with United Way, I wasn't always quite sure. I knew United Way did good things, and I knew I wanted to be a part of it, but I wasn't like the nuts and bolts sometimes are so intricate. And so thank you for asking. So United Way is, you can kind of think of it almost as like franchises. So we each have our own local branches. In Idaho, there are 7 branches of United Way, each covering specific counties. So our United Way is local and covers the 7 southeastern counties of Idaho. So from Bear Lake over to the Shelley area and then in Power County. And those are the counties that we really focus on. What are the needs of our community members? How can we support the nonprofits that are doing the work and really just elevate the work of the nonprofits and fill the gaps that maybe some of their traditional grants and funding sources aren't able to do, and really lift a leg up for them to be able to help as many families as possible in our counties.
So United Way then is helping other nonprofits. Is that kind of the nuts?
Yeah, that's my role. Yes, like in a nutshell, that's my role, and that's what United Way has been built on is really supporting other nonprofits that are helping working families and really filling those gaps. Now, we do also at our United Way have a director of health and a director of education, and those are kind of our long-term approaches to helping solve some really systemic issues in our community. And so you can kind of think of it as, I put the analogy of like the river, and like there's kids falling out of the river and you pluck them out of the river. And so that's kind of what our nonprofits do, right? They're immediately like, oh my gosh, it's an emergency. We got to get these people out of the river. We have to be able to stabilize them. But what our team does, our health director, our education director, is they're going up and finding what happened to the bridge and why people are falling in, and really looking at the health, really looking at the education, because we know that the economy is really hard right now for our families, and our studies show that we are part of an ALICE group, and you may have heard of that. So when we say ALICE, we mean working families that make above the federal poverty level, but below the amount to actually make ends meet. So they're not getting any government help with food, with healthcare, with all of those things. And so we know that any amount of education, secondary education, is going to help families make more money. Right. And so if we can start by building that love for education with our littles, we know that they're going to be more likely to go on to take on higher education. And in order to do that, they have to be healthy. And so it all kind of works together in a way that is so profound for families that maybe they just need a chance. They just need the bridge fixed. We need to pull some people out of the river, and we need to make sure that we're supporting families, and United Way makes that so easy.
That's awesome. So what would you say are your biggest initiatives when it comes to fixing the bridge or finding out why people are falling off that bridge? Yeah. What are those biggest initiatives?
So right now, our director of health, Amy Wiest, and I would love to connect you with her. She is working on something called, she did a community assessment to really look at Bannock County and say, why are families struggling? What's stopping them from being healthy? And she thought she was going to be working on housing. She thought she was going to be working on some different things. But what actually came up was transportation. Wow. And that was something that we didn't really think about too much. And I would encourage you to go back and our listeners to go back and look at some of the podcasts on our YouTube channel with Amy talking about Ride United. So this program is that she has built off this grant. So this isn't from like United Way campaign dollars or anything. This is completely grant funded work in our long-term space and long-term solution space. But it's making sure that people have transportation to get to their health appointments, and making sure that they can get their prescriptions. And, I think sometimes we take for granted just jumping in our car and going to the doctor. Right. Because that's not the case for everyone. If there's only one car in the household, or if the car is broke down, what do you do? If you don't have tires on your car and you can't afford to put tires on the car, it's make the choice to put the tires on the car or pay the light bill, right? Pay the light bill. And our ALICE studies show that 44% of community members right here in our 7 counties are making those tough choices every day. Wow. Yeah.
That is what an incredible work that she has done to figure that out. Now, I know that is grant funded, but you guys have a campaign coming up. Can you talk a little bit about that campaign, and then what programs the campaign dollars will assist with?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So campaign, I would say, is about 75% of my job. And like we were talking about before, it's really what United Ways are founding on, and it's supporting local nonprofits through the gaps. And so every year we start with a campaign kickoff breakfast, which is actually coming up next week on the 19th. And so we would love for everyone to join us there. But what we do is we do a big fundraising drive. And we work with corporations. We work with the Idaho National Lab, with JR Simplot, ICCU, ISU, really workplaces, about 65 different departments, all through and organizations, all through our 7 counties, to raise money to support grants that we give out in the spring to these local nonprofits. And so what we've done is we've been able to do a lot of fundraising. You know, they say I'm a fundraiser, but it's more fundraising than it is fundraising. And really, it's what that campaign does and what those grants do is they allow small nonprofits that are wearing so many hats to fill the gaps that they need in our communities. And for example, some of the grants, I ask them, right? Because the question is, why give to United Way? Why don't I just give my $50 or my $130 straight to the organization? And so when I first started with United Way, I was like, yeah, why United Way? Like, what am I doing here? And really, after talking to so many executive directors and so many of our local nonprofits, United Way grants are so flexible. And I didn't know this before I started with United Way about 7 years ago, is that when a nonprofit, let's say it's a domestic violence shelter and service, when they get grants from the government and state level and all different things, there's so much red tape. They can only use it for this survivor. They can only use it in accordance to these strategic things, right? But what if that family member just needs a ride somewhere? What if they just need 1 month of 1 month of utility bills so that they can feel secure enough to be able to leave? What if that they just need one night, you know? And so I think that that's where United Way grants that are given to nonprofits are so flexible. That's where, and I say that they fill the gaps of need for organizations that wouldn't be able to help as many people without United Way dollars. The other thing that United Way does is when we're able to give those grants at the end of the year, they can check a box and that says, yes, we've received a United Way grant in the past, those local nonprofits. And what that does is it shows that their family their community believes them, that the local United Way believes in them, and they're able to leverage that for matching grants. So when you give $100 out of your pocket to United Way, those nonprofits that it reaches that next spring is actually able to leverage that up to 4 times. And so that goes out into the community as $400. And so without United Ways being able to help fill some of those financial needs, those nonprofits, we would not have the stability that we have right now in our nonprofit sector, and they're so strong. This last year, we were able to give out almost $520,000 to local nonprofits through our campaigning, and a little over 300,000 of that was through the community fund. And the other portion of that was just donor designated dollars when they say, hey, I want my money to go straight to the food bank or to homeless shelter. Our grant dollars was close to, I think, I want to make sure I get that number right, $355,000 last year went to our community fund. And it's just an amazing opportunity for our community members to make it makes it really easy for them to make a big difference for families through the nonprofits that are on the ground doing the work.
That's cool. I didn't realize that. So last year's campaign, what was your goal?
So we've actually had a 3-year goal over the last and it's called Teaming Up for Tomorrow. So this is our last year of our Teaming Up for Tomorrow 2025 goal. And our goal was to increase giving by 15%. So 5% every year. Because the amount that the nonprofits ask for from our campaigning we always hope that we can hit that number. But normally we hit right about 76, 78% of the ask. And so our goal was like, if we can do 5% more every year, that feels doable, because I think we got to think about what's happening in our economy right now and how people are feeling their own pressures, and I think that's kind of affected that a little bit. But I'm so proud to say that in 2 years, we've actually hit that 15%. We're actually at 16% in 2 years. And so this last push, I guess, for the teaming up tomorrow, if we do another 5% increase on that 355,000 from the community fund, we're going to be able to help so many more organizations, bring more organizations into our grant process, and help them with the tools that they need to make sure that the satellite office per se in Soda Springs for CASA stays open. We help fund that, and funding admin costs for some of our smaller nonprofits. That's so important, and making sure that people are there in the office and ready to help, as well as like the Baby Steps program at Bannock Youth Foundation, some of the backpacks from the food bank to help kids make sure that they have food over the weekends. It's just such an amazing opportunity when just a little bit goes so far.
Yeah,
So how do people, if someone wants to donate to this campaign, how long does it run, and what are the ways that they can contribute?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you are an employee of one of our 65-ish department organizations, you can donate through your workplace campaign, which usually happens between August and the middle of December. And that is the workplace campaign. And a lot of times there's some really fun, I know ISU does some bowling tournaments, and they also have like a campaign breakfast. And so you can work within your own workplace. Now, if you do not have, if your workplace isn't associated with United Way, you can always make a donation on our website. And then also just come in and talk to us and ask more about what are the kind of things that we do and who we fund. And we fund in health, education, and financial stability. And so if those types of human services, and we're able to elevate that, and you want to be a small or a large part of that, we welcome that on an individual level and on a workplace level as well.
That's great. So you do more donation to organizations than to individual people. You don't have people coming to you individually asking for help. Is that?
No, we don't do any direct service here at United Way. We really feel like our job is kind of the convener and the connector and the backbone to some of these local nonprofits, because I think our United Way and the Idaho Food Bank in our area are the only ones that have specific fundraising and marketing departments. Other than that, the executive directors and the staff wear so many hats, and so I think it's important for us to help the people that know what they're doing, because yes, we're so passionate about homelessness and kids and making sure people have what they need, but we're not the experts. We support the experts and make sure that your dollars go the furthest.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that.
Well, surprisingly, we are running out of time. This went by so quickly. Before we wrap up, Wendi, would you like just to give some information, like state what your website is, and again, like where people, so that people who are looking to donate can do so?
Yeah, absolutely. So our website is United Way, SEI, like Southeast Idaho.org. You'll be able to find, there's a tab called Get Involved. There's a tab for volunteering. There's a tab for the ISU Student United that was just launched. You should be able to find all that you need there. Please also, if you want to learn more about the ins and outs of United Way, we did a really great podcast on our YouTube channel this last year that kind of gives some of those. You'll learn about Ride United, some of our education initiatives. We hope that if you're an ISU employee, that join us at campaign breakfast kickoff that we're having there at ISU. And we would just love to meet you and know more about you.
Well, thank you so much, Wendi, for coming on. I'm very happy Raylyn was able to join me today. She's such a great person. As our director, it's really nice to have her on, but she asked some really, really wonderful questions. Hopefully, we'll be seeing a little bit more of her family. It's actually her son and daughter-in-law who are helping with the ISU Student United Way initiative. So thank you again, Raylyn. Thank you so much, Wendi. We hope your campaign is a huge success. For those of you who would like to see our offerings here at Continuing Education, you can do so on our website. That is cetrain.isu.edu. And if you like this type of content, please like, share, subscribe. That helps our channel. You can find this on Spotify and YouTube. And you'll see some more of this series coming up within this giving year, featuring some of our nonprofits. So thank you so much and be safe out there.